In the far reaches of the galaxy, many great empires ruled the stars. They had ships that could cut across light years, weapons that could melt planets, and armies that stretched across entire sectors. Yet, despite their power, there was one world they refused to touch. That world was Earth. To most alien species, Earth was not a home, not a jewel of life, it was a nightmare. They called it a Deathworld. A cursed planet where storms ripped the skies apart, volcanoes boiled the land, and predators with sharp claws and hungering eyes roamed freely. Even the smallest insects on Earth carried venom strong enough to kill. The air was too heavy, the oceans too wild, the diseases too cruel. Only monsters could survive there, one alien whispered. Then what are the humans? Another asked, shivering. For centuries, the galaxy laughed at humanity. To them, humans were a strange accident, fragile creatures born on a planet that should have killed them long ago. Compared to the great empires, Earth was weak, backward, and poor. Humans were seen as little more than curiosities, a warning story told to alien children, never go to the Deathworld, or its creatures will tear you apart. But what no one knew, was that the story was wrong. In secret corners of the galaxy, rumors began to spread. Alien traders spoke in hushed voices. Humans are not weak, they said. They are patient. A strange fear began to grow in the shadows of space, a fear not of Earth's storms or beasts, but of the people who had endured them. Because if humans could survive on a Deathworld, what else were they capable of? Far away, in the chambers of the Orion Council, alien leaders gathered. They were tall, armored, shining in their ancient traditions. Yet tonight, they spoke in nervous tones. The Deathworlders expand, said one, his many eyes flickering. Impossible, hissed another. Their planet kills them faster than we ever could. And yet, the first answered, they still multiply. They build. They fight. They endure. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the great empires felt unease. Humanity was not supposed to last. But against all odds, it had. And in the shadows of that council, listening through hidden channels, were the very creatures they feared, humans. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, hidden bases buzzed with life. In the cold mountains, secret factories glowed in silence. Far above, in the black void of space, dark shapes drifted, unseen by alien scanners. For years, humans had been preparing, building something far greater than anyone imagined. But to the rest of the galaxy, Earth still looked weak. A broken world. A primitive race. A joke. That was exactly what humanity wanted them to believe. The whispers spread farther. Soldiers in alien armies told stories of meeting humans in small wars, how a single soldier could fight with the strength of 3. How they refused to surrender even when their bodies bled and their bones broke. Captains of alien ships told tales of human engineers who could fix impossible machines with nothing but scraps. Hunters spoke of humans who stared into the eyes of predators and did not flinch. Some refused to believe it. Stories, they said. Nothing more. But others looked at the stars with dread. Because deep inside, they knew, no story is born without truth. One empire sent spies to Earth. They expected to see a broken world of dirt and fire. What they found instead made them tremble. Children running through forests full of beasts that would kill alien soldiers in seconds. Farmers working land so hard and unforgiving that no alien world could compare. Entire cities standing strong against storms that would flatten another species' colonies. Impossible, the spies whispered. They should be dead. And yet, the humans laughed, built, and dreamed. When the spies returned, they reported the truth. But their leaders refused to listen. Pride blinded them. To admit fear of humans was to admit weakness. So the council laughed. They called Earth nothing but a cursed rock. They called humanity nothing but survivors of chance. But in their hearts, the fear grew. For every whisper about Earth carried the same warning. If the Deathworlders ever leave their home, the galaxy will never be the same. And so, the stars waited. Empires turned their gaze elsewhere. Wars continued in distant systems. Trade ships crossed the void. But somewhere, in the quiet blue world called Earth, the storm was already building. The humans had heard the whispers. They knew the names they were given: monsters, savages, Deathworlders. And they accepted them. Because monsters survive. Monsters fight. Monsters win. Beneath the mountains, deep in the oceans, high in orbit, engines were warming. Hulls of black steel gleamed in hidden docks. A new sound began to echo through the darkness of space. It was not thunder. It was not storms. It was the sound of fleets awakening. And soon, the galaxy would learn the truth. The Deathworld was not cursed. It was crowned. And its children were ready to claim the stars. In the endless dark of space, silence can be louder than war. For years, the galaxy had watched Earth with mocking eyes, calling it a cursed world, a death world. But while the empires laughed, the humans stayed quiet. They were watching. They were waiting. They were preparing. From orbit, alien probes scanned Earth. They saw only storms, mountains, forests, and oceans full of danger. They saw a world always trying to kill its own children. To alien eyes, humanity seemed trapped, fragile creatures forced to fight for every breath. What they did not see was what lay hidden. Beneath Earth's oceans, deep under crushing pressure, massive structures stretched across the seabed. They were shipyards, cloaked in silence, building vessels the galaxy had never known. In frozen mountains, humans carved into rock, creating bunkers and foundries, black smoke rising only at night. Far above, in orbit's shadow, shapes drifted, dark, sharp, and cold. Alien scanners passed over them and saw nothing. Humanity had learned one truth: the galaxy feared only what it could not see. And so, humans became shadows. In council chambers across the stars, the alien rulers spoke with arrogance. "Earth cannot rise," said one with silver skin. "They are too few," said another with scaled claws. "They are trapped by their cursed world." They did not know that even as they spoke, human fleets were growing in silence. But why hide? Why not show their strength? The answer was simple. Humans knew their enemy. The galaxy was not made of friends or allies. It was made of predators wearing crowns. And predators only struck when they thought prey was weak. So humans wore the mask of weakness. They showed nothing but struggle, nothing but survival. All the while, their true face remained hidden in the shadows. Yet whispers began to escape. Alien merchants traveling near Earth claimed they saw ships that did not match old designs. Dark ships, moving faster than light should allow. Captains swore they saw shadows following them through warp space, only to vanish without trace. Armies told stories of battles against humans on distant colonies, stories where humans fought with technology far too advanced for their so-called primitive race. At first, no one believed. Lies, the empires said. Stories told by cowards. But the stories did not stop. They spread like fire through the galaxy, until even the arrogant began to feel unease. In one distant sector, an alien fleet vanished. When scouts went to search, they found only wreckage, hulls torn open, crews missing, weapons disabled. No one knew who had struck them. But on the remains of one broken ship, scratched into the steel with a blade, were 3 words. "We were watching." Panic began to grow. The galaxy demanded answers. Who had destroyed the fleet? Which empire had attacked? No one dared to say the word, but in the back of every mind, the thought was the same: Deathworlders. Meanwhile, on Earth, the truth was clear. Humanity had not struck yet. Humanity had only tested its claws. Inside secret halls, human leaders met. Their voices were calm, steady, and sharp. "They do not see us yet," one said. "Good," replied another. "Let them laugh a little longer. When the time comes," whispered the first, "they will choke on their laughter." The plan was simple: stay quiet until the galaxy turned its back. Then rise. Still, a question burned: why? Why risk it? Why build fleets and armies when humanity could have lived in peace, hidden on their cursed world? The answer was survival. Humanity had seen enough to understand. In this galaxy, peace was an illusion. Sooner or later, the empires would come. Sooner or later, they would decide the Deathworlders did not belong among the stars. And when that day came, humans would be ready. Alien spies continued to search, desperate to uncover the truth. They scanned oceans, mountains, skies. They found nothing. But sometimes, late at night, their sensors caught echoes, strange pulses from the dark side of the moon, or shadows moving against the stars. And each time, the data was dismissed as error. After all, the galaxy thought it knew the truth. Earth was weak. Humans were fragile. The Deathworlders would never rise. But those who had looked too closely never returned. And so, the silence continued. Humanity's fleets waited in the dark, engines cold, weapons hidden. They were the silent observers now, watching the empires with patient eyes. For the first time, the galaxy had no idea who was truly hunting who. The galaxy is never quiet for long. Empires fight, fleets burn, and stars become graves. Yet, in all the chaos, one event shook the galaxy like thunder, a signal. It came suddenly, bursting through channels used for trade, war, and diplomacy. A desperate cry for help, echoing across light years. At first, many thought it was a trick, a false distress call meant to lure ships into ambush. But the signal repeated again and again, a voice filled with terror. This is the Zorith Dominion. We are under attack, unknown enemy, repeat, unknown enemy. Our fleets are burning. Our worlds are falling. The transmission cut to static. Silence followed. A silence filled with fear. The Zorith Dominion was not small. It was not weak. For centuries, it had crushed smaller species and expanded its rule across dozens of systems. Yet now, something had struck it down with such force that its leaders begged for help. Across the galaxy, alien rulers gathered to debate. Who could have done this? Which empire had dared to strike? No one claimed responsibility. No one admitted guilt. And that made the fear worse. But the strangest part of the signal was not what it said, but where it was heard first. It reached Earth before it reached anyone else. In the underground halls of humanity's hidden command, alarms rang as the message played. Human leaders gathered in shadowed chambers, listening to the broken cries of the once mighty Zorith. Some smiled. Others frowned. All understood what this meant. The galaxy bleeds, one general said. And they want us to save them, another replied, almost laughing. No, a strategist whispered, eyes sharp. They don't want us. They don't even know we can hear them. This signal was not for us. A heavy silence filled the chamber. If the distress call had reached Earth before the empires, then something was wrong. Someone, or something, had sent it to them on purpose. But why? Was it a mistake? Or was it a message? Humanity debated fiercely. Some argued they should ignore it. Let the empires suffer, they said. Why risk our hidden strength? Others argued differently. If an unknown enemy rises, they warned, then sooner or later, it will find us. The final decision came slowly, with heavy weight. We answer, the leaders agreed. Not for kindness. Not for friendship. But for survival. And so, for the first time, the silent observers prepared to move. In the black docks hidden beneath oceans and mountains, ships powered their cores. Engines hummed. Weapons gleamed. Fleets that the galaxy did not even know existed began to gather. But still, they moved with shadows. They did not announce themselves. They did not declare war or offer peace. They slipped into the void like ghosts, heading toward the source of the signal. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, panic spread. The Zorith Dominion collapsed, its colonies burning, its fleets vanishing. Refugees told stories of black ships with weapons like nothing seen before. Others claimed it was a monster, a living thing born from the void itself. No story agreed. All agreed on one thing: the Zorith were finished. And yet, none suspected the Deathworlders were on the move. In council chambers, empires argued. "It must be the Vora," one shouted. "No, it was the Kale," another accused. All pointed fingers at each other. None looked toward Earth. That was humanity's shield, invisibility. While the great powers fought among themselves, humans slipped between the stars unnoticed, following the signal to its source. But even the humans did not know what they would find. Was it a weapon? A new empire rising from the dark? Or something even worse? As the first human fleet crossed the silent edge of Zorith space, wreckage drifted like broken bones. Ships split in half. Stations shattered. Colonies burned on their planets below. No survivors. The void smelled of death. And then, the signal returned. Faint. Broken. Whispering through the static. "Help us, whoever hears this, help us." The humans listened. Their faces were cold, their voices steady. "Not for kindness," their commander said. "Not for mercy. For knowledge. For survival. We will answer." For the first time in history, the galaxy would learn: when the Deathworlders move, they do not move as prey. They move as predators. And somewhere, in the dark beyond the wreckage, something was waiting. Watching. Across the galaxy, the empires laughed. They had heard rumors, strange whispers that the Deathworlders were building fleets in secret, that humans were no longer weak. But to the great powers, such talk was nothing but a joke. "How could fragile humans build warships?" scoffed one alien lord. "They still burn wood and dig in dirt," mocked another. "Even if they did build ships," said a third, "what could they do against us? We hold the stars." The galaxy believed humanity was still trapped on its cursed world. They were wrong. While alien rulers laughed, shadows moved in the dark. Humanity's fleets had already left Earth. They traveled in silence, their hulls painted black, their engines hidden behind screens of light and dust. To alien scanners, they did not exist. They were ghosts. They were hunters. They were an unseen armada. In deep space, near the ruins of the fallen Zorith Dominion, human ships drifted without a sound. Their captains spoke in low voices, their crews steady, their eyes sharp. For them, fear was not weakness, it was a weapon. The wreckage of Zorith ships floated like broken bones around them. Every colony, every station, every fleet they found was the same, shattered. Yet no signs of the enemy appeared. And that was the most terrifying part. Who could destroy an empire so completely, and then vanish without trace? Alien scouts from other empires soon arrived to study the wreckage. They expected to find survivors, to gather technology, maybe even claim territory. But instead, they found something else. Sometimes, just beyond the wreckage, their sensors picked up movement. A shadow slipping past. A flicker against the stars. A cold whisper of engines that should not be there. Then, silence. The scouts returned home with trembling voices. "Something is watching the ruins," they warned. "Something moves in the dark." But their leaders dismissed them. "Hallucinations," the empires said. "Ghost stories." If only they knew the truth. Those shadows were not monsters. They were not unknown invaders. They were humans. The Deathworlders had come. Inside their ships, commanders studied the wreckage carefully. They recorded every burn mark, every weapon scar, every shattered hull. The enemy had left no survivors, but its methods left clues. And humanity learned. "Do not reveal ourselves," the human admiral ordered. "Let them fight among themselves. Let them waste their strength. When the time comes, we will strike." The fleets moved again, silent as knives, deeper into Zorith space. Always watching. Always waiting. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the empires continued their arrogance. In the Orion Council, alien rulers shouted at each other, accusing one another of destroying the Zorith. None dared to admit they were afraid. Only a great empire could have done this, one declared. Then which of you hides the truth? Another snarled. They argued, but none spoke the name on everyone's mind. None said humanity. Because to admit that was unthinkable. But not everyone was blind. Some smaller species, ones who had faced humans in border skirmishes long ago, began to whisper. This feels like them, they said quietly. Who else survives like this? Who else fights like this? The whispers spread like fire, even as the great empires denied them. And still, the humans stayed silent. In the black of space, the unseen armada gathered strength. New ships arrived from hidden docks. Fleets met in the void, never sending signals, never revealing their numbers. Thousands of eyes looked into the dark, waiting for the enemy that had destroyed the Zorith. But the humans were not only watching the ruins. They were also watching the empires. Through hidden probes, they studied alien fleets. Through stolen transmissions, they listened to council meetings. Every word, every move, every weakness, they recorded it all. Because when the time came, humanity would not simply defend itself. It would strike. The alien empires thought themselves safe. They thought Earth was weak. They thought the Deathworlders had no voice among the stars. But above the shattered ruins of the Zorith Dominion, ships drifted unseen, carrying banners no alien yet feared. The banners of Earth. And soon, when the Armada chose to reveal itself, the galaxy would learn a lesson it had long forgotten. The quietest predators are always the deadliest. For too long, the galaxy believed humanity was weak. For too long, they mocked Earth as nothing but a cursed rock, a death world. But now, the time for silence was over. The unseen armada had waited, hidden in the dark. Its engines burned cold, its weapons locked, its crews patient. But shadows cannot remain forever. The first clash was about to begin. It happened in the ruins of the Zorith Dominion. An alien empire, the Kale, had sent a fleet to claim the broken systems. They wanted the Zorith's mines, their colonies, their technology. To them, the Zorith were gone, and the Kale were ready to feast on their bones. The Kale fleet was vast, dozens of heavy warships, sleek cruisers, and carriers filled with fighters. Their admiral sat on his command throne, confident. No one will challenge us, he said. And he believed it. But far away, hidden among the debris of shattered Zorith ships, the humans were watching. Their admiral gave the order in a calm voice. Release the fleet. From the shadows, ships slid forward. Black holes shimmered, engines ignited, and silence turned to thunder. The galaxy had never seen human warships before. They were sharp-edged, armored like beasts, with weapons glowing faintly red. The Kale didn't even notice at first. Their scanners missed the incoming shadows until it was too late. Contact. Unknown vessels, shouted one Kale officer. How many? The admiral demanded. The officer's eyes widened. Too many. The battle began with fire. Human warships opened their guns, and beams of light cut through the void. Kale cruisers exploded before they could even raise shields. Fighters launched in panic, only to vanish in storms of flak. The Kale admiral stared in shock. Impossible. They fight like predators. But this was only the beginning. Human ships moved with speed and precision. They darted between enemy lines, striking at weak points, splitting the Kale fleet apart. Their weapons were brutal, designed not only to destroy but to terrify. Each hit left burning scars, each explosion echoed with violence. The Kale fired back with everything they had. Missiles streaked, plasma cannons roared, but the humans did not fight like any alien race. They used tactics the galaxy had never seen, daring maneuvers, reckless charges, traps hidden in plain sight. One Kale captain gasped as his ship was pulled into a crossfire. They sacrificed their own advantage, just to kill us, he shouted. It was true. Humans fought differently. They did not seek safe victories. They risked, they adapted, they endured. It was the same way they had survived on Earth, through storms, beasts, and endless danger. Now, they brought that same fury to the stars. The Kale fleet broke apart. Cruisers fled, carriers burned, and their admiral screamed orders that no one obeyed. Panic spread. The Deathworlders had revealed themselves, and fear was sharper than any blade. On the bridge of the lead human ship, the admiral gave his final command. End it. The last strike came swift and merciless. Human warships closed in, surrounding the Kale flagship. Guns blazed. The Kale admiral's final scream was lost in fire as his ship was torn apart, ripped into pieces that drifted silently into the void. Then, silence returned. Wreckage floated where once a proud fleet had stood. Human ships moved through the debris, cold and steady. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. For them, victory was not pride, it was survival. But the galaxy would not see it that way. Across the stars, reports spread. The Kale fleet was gone. Entire squadrons destroyed. Witnesses spoke of black warships that came from nowhere, striking like wolves, vanishing like ghosts. The name whispered through the void was the same one the galaxy had laughed at for centuries. Humans. Deathworlders. The galaxy's predators had finally shown their teeth. In council chambers, alien rulers trembled. If the Kale fleet could be destroyed so easily, what chance did they have? Some called for peace, others for war. But none could deny the truth. The age of humanity had begun. And this was only the first clash. The Kale fleet was gone. Burned to ashes in the ruins of the Zorith Dominion. What remained of their warships drifted silently through space, twisted metal and shattered hulls glowing in the cold light of distant stars. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy stopped laughing at humanity. Whispers spread faster than any ship. Traders told stories of black warships that struck from shadows. Refugees spoke of humans who fought with impossible ferocity. Soldiers whispered of battles where the Deathworlders did not retreat, even when outnumbered, even when outgunned. And so, the old joke faded. Humanity was no longer prey. Now, the hunters of the galaxy began to feel hunted themselves. In the Orion Council, panic grew. Alien rulers gathered in chambers filled with light and steel, their voices sharp with fear. "This is madness," one shouted. The Kale fleet was powerful. How could humans destroy it? "Impossible," said another, though his trembling voice betrayed doubt. "They are still weak," a third insisted. "We must strike quickly, before they grow." But deep inside, they all felt the same chill. The Kale had been strong. If even they had fallen, who was safe? Meanwhile, the humans watched quietly. Their fleets did not vanish after the battle. They lingered, moving through Kale space like wolves among sheep. Sometimes they struck convoys, taking supplies. Sometimes they targeted outposts, leaving nothing but silence. But more often, they simply watched. Hidden ships stalked alien fleets, scanning them, recording them, testing their reactions. Admirals who once thought themselves mighty began to fear the shadows. "Do not travel alone," commanders warned. "Do not stray from the main fleet," captains told their crews. But it didn't matter. The Deathworlders were everywhere, and nowhere. The shift was slow at first. For centuries, humanity had been hunted, mocked, cornered. Now, that balance was broken. A Kale admiral fled into neutral space, only to vanish without trace. A council envoy spoke against humanity, and his ship was found adrift, crew missing. Alien soldiers swore they saw human eyes watching from the dark, even on worlds far from Earth. Fear grew sharper than any blade. "They strike like predators," one survivor said. "No," corrected another, voice low. "They strike like hunters." On Earth, human leaders listened to the spreading panic. Reports from across the galaxy filled their command halls. To them, fear was not weakness, it was strategy. Let them tremble, one general said. Fear is worth more than fleets, whispered another. Every time they see a shadow, the admiral declared, they will think of us. It was true. Even when humans were not there, the galaxy felt their presence. A silence in space could be a fleet. A flicker on sensors could be a warship. Every unknown became a Deathworlder. But not everyone bowed to fear. One great empire still stood proud, the Falcor, rulers of vast armadas. Their admirals scoffed at the rumors. Stories to frighten children, they said. The humans are still weak. And so, the Falcor prepared to strike. They would send their fleets against Earth, to crush the Deathworlders before their legend grew too strong. But as they gathered their ships, something strange happened. Admirals vanished, one after another. Captains were found dead in their chambers, no signs of struggle, only a single mark left behind. A mark carved into metal, into walls, into flesh itself. The hunters have come. Whispers turned to terror. Armies locked their doors. Fleets refused to move without escorts. The Falcor tried to show strength, but fear ate them from within. The hunters had become the hunted. And humanity was no longer hiding. In the black of space, their fleets moved with purpose. Every strike, every shadow, every disappearance was part of a greater plan. They were not simply fighting wars. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson. On Earth, one general spoke the truth aloud. For centuries, they hunted us. Now, it is their turn. By the time the galaxy understood, it was already too late. The Deathworlders had taken control of the most dangerous weapon of all. Not guns. Not ships. Not numbers. Fear. The galaxy trembled. The Kale were gone. The Zoreth were dust. Smaller empires hid behind locked borders, whispering in fear of shadows. Everywhere, fleets moved cautiously, scanning the dark for Deathworlder warships that might not even be there. But one empire did not bow. The Falcor. They were the oldest of the great powers, rulers of hundreds of worlds, masters of vast armadas. Their fleets filled star systems like storms. Their admirals wore crowns of victory, their generals commanded armies larger than entire human nations. When they heard the whispers of human victories, they laughed. Deathworlders, their emperor scoffed. Fragile animals who survived by accident. They cannot threaten us. To the Falcor, humanity was not a predator. Humanity was an insect, buzzing in shadows. And insects could be crushed. So they prepared the greatest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Thousands of warships, carriers heavy with fighters, dreadnoughts that could split moons in half. Their banners burned bright. Their drums of war thundered. They were coming for Earth. News of the Falcor fleet spread like fire. Across the galaxy, species held their breath. Some hoped the Falcor would succeed, that humanity would finally be erased. Others prayed in silence, fearing what would happen if the Falcor failed. And far away, in the hidden halls of Earth's command, human leaders watched. The giants move, one general whispered, staring at the reports. Good, said the admiral, his voice calm. Let them come. When the Falcor fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's system, they expected resistance. They expected fleets rising to meet them, weapons blazing, humans fighting with all their strength. But what they found instead was silence. No ships appeared. No defenses lit the skies. Earth itself seemed still, a quiet blue orb turning beneath its storms and clouds. The Falcor admiral smiled. See, he told his officers. The Deathworlders are cowards. They hide behind stories, behind shadows. But now, they stand naked before us. The fleet advanced, engines glowing, weapons armed. And that was when the trap closed. From the blackness behind them, space itself seemed to come alive. Hundreds of human warships emerged from shadows, engines flaring to life. They had hidden in asteroid fields, in dark voids, in the very wake of the Falcor's own ships. The hunters had surrounded their prey. Before the Falcor could react, the humans struck. beams of fire tore through carriers. Missiles screamed into dreadnought hulls. Fighters launched in swarms, weaving between enemy lines with savage precision. The Falcor admiral shouted orders, his voice breaking through static. Turn. Shields forward. Fight them. But panic spread. Ships collided as they tried to maneuver. Entire squadrons burned before they could even fire. The Deathworlders had chosen the battlefield, the timing, the moment. And every move was designed to bleed the Falcor. The battle raged for hours. The Falcor fought with all their strength. Their dreadnoughts unleashed storms of plasma, their carriers spewed endless waves of fighters. But humanity fought differently. They struck at weak points, at supply ships, at command vessels. They cut the Empire's fleet apart piece by piece, until even the largest warships drifted helpless in fire. For every human ship destroyed, 10 Falcor ships fell. The admiral of the Falcor slammed his fist against his throne. They are not warriors, he shouted. They are monsters. He was right. On Earth, commanders watched the battle unfold. No cheers filled the halls, no celebration. Their voices were steady, their orders calm. This is not victory, one general said. This is survival, replied another. By the time the stars grew quiet again, the greatest fleet in the galaxy was gone. Wreckage floated in every direction, twisted and burning. Only a handful of Falcor ships escaped, limping back to their empire with broken crews and broken pride. They carried with them a truth no one could deny. The Deathworlders were no longer hiding. Across the galaxy, fear turned to certainty. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They had faced the strongest empire, and lived. Some species whispered that humans would now rule the stars. Others feared they would burn everything until nothing was left. But all agreed on one thing. The hunters had become the masters. And the galaxy's last empire had learned the truth. You cannot crush Deathworlders. Because Deathworlders were born from fire. The galaxy was silent. Where once mighty fleets roared, now only wreckage drifted. Where once proud empires ruled, now their banners hung in ruins. The Kale were gone. The Zorith were ash. The Falcor, once the greatest power of all, were broken, their fleets shattered, their pride turned to dust. And at the heart of it all stood humanity. For centuries, the galaxy had mocked them. Called them fragile. Weak. Prey. But now, the words spread from one star system to the next, whispered in fear, shouted in awe. Deathworlders. In the Orion Council, the last rulers of alien nations gathered in panic. No longer did they speak with arrogance. Their voices shook, their eyes lowered when the name of humanity was spoken. They have done the impossible, one whispered. They destroyed the Kale fleet, the Zorith Dominion, even the Falcor Armada. What do they want now? Asked another. Will they conquer us? Will they burn the galaxy? No one answered. Because no one knew. On Earth, in the command halls buried deep beneath mountains, humanity debated its future. Some called for expansion. We have proven our strength, generals argued. Now we take the crown. Let the galaxy serve us. Others warned caution. We are not conquerors, diplomats said. We fight because we must, not because we hunger for power. But the truth was clear, the galaxy was already watching them as rulers, whether they wanted the crown or not. The fleets of humanity no longer hid in shadows. They sailed openly through alien space, their black holes gleaming under distant suns. Wherever they went, other ships gave way. Not by order. Not by law. But by fear. In markets, traders told stories of Deathworlder cunning. In slums, children played games where they pretended to be human soldiers. Even soldiers of other species carried charms carved in the shape of Earth's crest, as if believing it might spare them in battle. The galaxy had changed. And humanity was its center. But power brings challenge. In the dark, whispers rose again. Some alien factions plotted rebellion. Others dreamed of assassinations, sabotage, secret wars to cut humanity down before they grew too strong. And humans knew this. They had lived too long as prey not to see the signs of predators hiding in the tall grass. So they prepared, not for peace, but for the next storm. A great meeting was called. For the first time in history, the alien rulers who had once laughed at Earth now traveled to its soil. In vast halls of glass and steel, under the shadow of old Earth mountains, they sat at humanity's table. The human admiral spoke, his voice calm but sharp as steel. For centuries, you called us weak. For centuries, you hunted us. But we endured. We survived every fire, every war, every betrayal. He paused, letting silence settle like a weight. And now you look at us with fear. But know this, we do not seek to rule your worlds. We seek only respect. Stand against us, and you will fall. Stand with us, and together, we may build something greater. The aliens listened in silence. None dared laugh this time. Because in the eyes of the humans, they saw no bluff. Outside, crowds of people, human and alien alike, watched the skies. For the first time, Earth was not just a world. It was a beacon. A symbol. The Deathworld that refused to die. And slowly, one by one, the alien leaders bowed their heads. Not in defeat. Not in chains. But in recognition. Recognition that humanity had earned its place. From that day, Earth was no longer just a death world. It was the crown of the galaxy. A world that had risen from the shadows, through blood and fire, to take its seat among the stars. And though challenges would come, rebellions, plots, wars, the truth would never change. Humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Never underestimate a Deathworlder. Because the moment you think them weak is the moment you fall.